first, let's get into Geno Atkins. So the 8-time Pro Bowler Geno Atkins was released. He gives us a cap savings of $9.5 million. He was a three-time first team All Pro 2012, 2015, 2016, second team All Pro in 2011, 2010 All Decade team. I mean, this guy is a future Hall of Famer. Fourth round pick in 2010, 120, 384 tackles, 75.5 sacks, 6 pass deflections, 8 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and even 1 defensive touchdowns. And what does Geno Atkins mean to you?
Geno Atkins is the leader of the 3-tech mafia. Like, you know, like you could ask Aaron Donald. And matter of fact, there's a good interview where Aaron Donald's getting interviewed by some kid at like a cafeteria or something. And it was like, who do you look up to? And he's like, Geno Atkins, you know. So Geno Atkins is like, you know, before Geno Atkins from that position, there's a large stream of nose tackles in this league, and a lot of guys that weren't, you know, in this 3-tech position, and Geno Atkins opened up the door for that. It also opened up the door for drafting players of that profile, because before Geno, there was very few players that were getting drafted at that size. Like, you know, they were going 6'2" and up, like, you know, like big, more lankier guys or whatever. Like, but he brought on the beef. You know what I'm saying? Like Arby's up front, but at the same time being able to put pressure on the quarterback and bringing that pressure right in your lap. Geno Atkins is a legend. Like, make no ifs or buts about it. And it's crazy to just watch this happen before our eyes. You know, like, we're living in the, you know, like the changing of the guards. Like, this is history. Like 20 years from now, 10 years from now, but like, bro, like AJ Green, Geno Atkins left the same all season. Like, we are watching like an extreme like takeover right in front of our eyes. And Geno Atkins, it feels so surreal because we're so in the mix of free agency that I don't think people are really like, you know, it hasn't really hit them. You know, this past season, Geno was hampered with the shoulder injury. So when you look at it, you know, I think I always say football is almost like show business. You're not as big as your last hit. You know, like whatever your biggest hit was, that's how people remember you. And so maybe the impact of him not having a huge year this past year has softened the blow. But Geno Atkins is a legend.
Yeah, definitely. Geno Atkins is a legend. I told a story about AJ last week with my first interaction with him and what that meant. I also have a Geno story. So, like, back in the day, people used to play NCAA football. I'm glad that they're bringing it back, right? And on there, I remember always wanting to take this guy, Geno Atkins, out of Georgia. Like, I was always on the game trying to add him to the NFL team, because back then you could take the players from NCAA and put them into Madden. And anytime you did that, like Geno Atkins, from what I remember, he was always like a first-round pick, but he was like different. His athletic build was different and stuff like that. And so when I remember watching the draft and getting into it, I couldn't understand why he wasn't a first-round pick. I was like, this dude was amazing at Georgia. And then I was reminded, as you said, of his size was the issue. And so when we drafted him, I was like, oh, that's dope. That's the dude that I used to get off of the NCAA game all the time. And like you said, he just revolutionized the position. You know, for me, it wasn't anyone since the John Randalls and the Warren Sapps of the world that were putting up those kind of sack numbers. And that's what he represented to me. And that's why he will, in my opinion, be a first ballot Hall of Famer, because it's defensive tackle to have that many sacks. You can't deny those numbers. And so, like you said, a legend, battled some injuries last season. Like you said, you're only as good as your last hit, but definitely a salute to Geno Atkins, the legend. So
is he done?
Is he done? Nah, I think Geno can play. If I had to...
Will we regret it?
Will we regret it? Not necessarily. Like, it really depends on what they're doing. And I think with the changing of the guard, you talked about AJ Green and walking away from Geno Atkins, that literally is a transition to me of officially admitting that this is a rebuild. Like, you're getting rid of marquee players from that Marvin Lewis era, from the 2010 era. That is essentially putting a wrap on it. First, it was Carlos Dunlap. Second, it was AJ Green. Now it's Geno Atkins. Like, this is the dawn of a new era. It's official that we're rebuilding. They're getting their guys in. I think he still has stuff left in the tank. I think he could probably still play 2 years. Would love to see him try to go out and get a Super Bowl. And he's well respected around the league. So, yeah, I think he's still got something left in the tank, especially with him coming off that injury. From what I heard, not sure if this was 100% or not, but he was waived with like an injury, like he failed the physical or something like that. So I hope that he just is able to heal, because obviously he did play with basically one arm last year. So I just hope that he's able to get 100% healthy. But yeah, I do think that he does have at least 1 season, 2 seasons left in the tank. You look around the league, you see what Ndamukong Suh did for the Bucs. I think that Geno could do something similar to what he did for a contender.
Right. I agree.